ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I'm Dan Slaughter, Chief of Police for the City of Clearwater, SLAUGHTER. I want to just provide you a little bit of update. I know everybody's been following this story very intently. We did early this morning recover the body of one Mitchell Clock. That's Mitchel, 1L, and his last name Clock, Klock. He's 23 years old from Riverview. He was married earlier this year, and he basically has his own welding service, Clock Welding Service, that he started just a couple years ago. Good, hard-working person who was doing a dangerous job, and we definitely, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. His family's asked for some privacy, so we would ask that you give them some time to digest everything that they've been through these last couple days, especially with it being a holiday season and all. And they, he's a hard-working guy just trying to care for his family, and this is going to obviously strain them emotionally and maybe even financially. So please, we'd ask everybody just be respectful and keep the family in their thoughts and prayers. Our primary role as a police department up to this date was to provide scene security to make sure that we preserved any evidence that needed to be recovered and support the needed equipment that needed to get in here to help the fire department's operation as they conducted the recovery operation. The detectives have already done a few interviews, but we have a lot more work to do. This case will be very intent on kind of looking at the documentation that's available, what kind of information was learned about this structure up to the point of the tragedy, and then going from there to kind of evaluate how the whole thing was processed. So we've heard a lot of questions like, how is this going to change what you do at the City of Clearwater? We're gonna holistically look at everything, but we are certainly in the early stages of gathering a lot of that data to be able to really do a good evaluation. Certainly our detectives, who are skilled at doing death investigations and doing criminal matters, are involved in this particular incident as part of our obligation to investigate all death investigations. We are not at the point where we say this is a criminal investigation. I want to make sure that was very clear. We are at a point now where we are collecting information related to the death of Mitchell and trying to make sure that if there is any culpability and that evidence is presented to us during our investigation, that we will then, of course, handle it appropriately and follow through with any type of system of accountability that needs to occur. But we are far away from being able to do that. We are working with a vendor, a contractor, Thornton Tomasetti, who has actually already assisted in the search and rescue aspect or the search aspect of this particular case, and looking for them to continue on with us to provide our detectives some impartial information with regard to structural engineering, construction, repair processes, and kind of really get a good solid foundation on what that is. Rob Shaw is going to give you a document as once we complete this, which is kind of an overview of what our City of Clearwater in Planning and Development Department has already done with regard, or what they had done kind of up to this date. It's a very rough little timeline. We're releasing it. It actually, I believe some people may have already got it. So in the interest of transparency, we want to make sure that you all have it. It really just kind of chronologically shows what has happened up to this particular point. We first received a complaint in July 1st. The initial inspection on the 15th of July revealed that there was some information there was a concern. We prepared an unsafe structure report that was shared with the property management on the 19th of July, and we have followed up on August 30th, October 12th, and November 24th, just to kind of follow through at the stages. As I'm sure everybody could presume, it's not like you show up and say there's an issue or unsafe that all of a sudden engineers and repair people show up. They have to go through processes to find people that are available to work on those things, and so that was what was occurring during that time period I just described. The property manager was communicating with our inspection staff, and there was no attempt that we see at this particular point for them not to try to address the problems. So we are definitely going to kind of just continue to evaluate that, but at this point it doesn't seem like they were just ignoring our conversations. It was moving relatively well. There's very little information I can provide. This is going to be a very complicated case that'll take a lot of time to gather all the documentation. As I said, we've done a few interviews there's certainly other people that may have had knowledge of the building and of any other complaints or of any other processes that were being done whether it's for to attain insurance or anything during the property ownership, that we would just want to talk to and kind of work through those processes. So that's going to take us some time. I don't anticipate there'll be too many more updates after today unless something new is revealed through that investigation. But I did want to at least make ourselves available. Certainly, Division Chief Kleinfelter is here as well. He has been kind of the face during this initial stage of the Clearwater operation. Now we're trying to transition to the police department being the primary role as we do our function of our investigation. Be more than happy to try to answer any questions, and we'll maybe go left or right.
Chief, according to the timeline, it appears that the work was being performed without a permit being issued. Can you talk about that, and was there a requirement for a structural engineer to examine the work before it was performed, before that permit was issued?
Yes, you'll see that it indicates in the document I'm going to give you that our recommendation or the direction was for an engineer to be involved before the work was started. So that is something that we'll be looking into. I certainly want to make it very clear that I don't think that Mr. Mitchell Clock deserves to be, looked at in a negative light because of that, because we're talking about a hardworking man that's just trying to put food on the table, a true American. And so I really would like to just I think your point's well taken, but I don't have anything more than what you just said, and we'll be looking at how that happened and what transpired to get there. Ma'am?
Was Mitchell Clock working in the capacity of his own business, and can you repeat the name of that business? And also, what about complaints that were put in on this structure in 2008?
With regard to the first one, the name of the business is M, his initial, Clock, K-L-O-C-K, Welding Services, an LLC that was opened in 2019. I don't know with what capacity, who contracted for his services at this particular time. That is definitely one of the things that we are going to look into do. I don't have all of the documents. I referenced the one I have and that we're going to share with you today. Certainly we are going to be collecting a total historical overview of this property and all of the information that we have available, and we will certainly look into that. I'm going to try to go left to right, even though I've been unsuccessful.
Do you know why this building was looked at in July to begin with? Were they getting complaints then? Do you know why?
It's all preliminary. I really can't say with a 100% degree of certainty, but I do believe the property may have changed hands at some point through a purchase, and then some of these issues may have come up during the transition of some insurance, but we're still looking into that.
Chief, when your investigators and inspectors, building inspectors, came out to look at the garage, they said it was unsafe. Was it unsafe at imminent danger? Was there imminent danger that your inspectors determined?
Yeah, certainly the city of Clearwater inspectors, they made an unsafe report, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to shut down the entire structure. And so that's some of the things we need to get into the weeds and determine what level of safety was kind of implied by the report. So obviously this isn't a building that's occupied with people all the day, and the people that we're dealing with that were actually workers trying to do repairs. So we're certainly we're going to evaluate exactly that.
Do you have detectives that are up to speed on construction techniques, or are they going to learn as they go along or learn from the structural engineer?
We are going to lean on some expertise from some private services that'll be kind of independent in the process, and certainly the detectives will be more versed in this by the end of next year than they are today, no doubt. At this time, I don't think I can comfortably say there's a crime being committed. I think at this point, when a death is involved, you go through this systematic process of the investigation in case it gets to that. So as we start to review the documents, if there is information that's reveals that there is a potential charge, like say a culpable negligence or a manslaughter charge, we want to basically lay the foundation to make sure we collect that stuff in the proper way. So that's what we're doing now. We are not nearly to the point of having evidence where I would say I have any corpus delicti of a crime at this point.
Have you had any communication with the owner of the building? Are they cooperating throughout this process?
We have had some communication with the property manager, and I think there's been some with the property owner, but they're not being uncooperative. We just haven't gotten to the point where we've sat down and done any of those kind of conversations yet.
Chief Kleinfelter, can you talk about your operations overnight?
Wait, before you go, I'm sorry, Chief. What about the status of the building now? Is it going to have to be demolished because of the safety concerns? Will it be occupied again? And what happens about the surrounding buildings?
Sure.
Where do people park?
Well, certainly they'll have to make other arrangements for parking. The building at this point has been deemed uninhabitable, so we will not let people back in the building. We are working with the property manager now. They're making arrangements to have a security fence, and they have made arrangements for staff to make sure that nobody gets into the building. So at this point, the building is not going to be occupied moving forward. Whether it gets demolished is really not an answer I have for you today. Whether it could be repaired or not repaired, I really don't know. What was the second part of your question?
And have all the cars been removed?
Yeah, there's no cars in there now. The only thing that we are dealing with is we have the fire department, during their process, we've cut the power to the parking garage, and so we are working to restore power to a building that's affected by that. But
Sir, I think you nailed it all. Good. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
You answered all of my questions.
Great, thank you. Was there anything else to write? Good. All right.
Chief Kleinfelder, can you talk about your operations overnight? And
Yeah, like I gave you the update yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, once the equipment was in place and once the equipment started, it wasn't going to stop. So we used the excavator up to the point where we got really close to the victim. At that point, we pulled all the equipment back, and then it became the tech rescue operation. We had the Pinellas County Technical Rescue team was here. We went in and started hand removing some of the equipment. A little after 5 o'clock this morning, they were ready to remove the section of stairwell that was on top of Mitchell, and the technical rescue team, in conjunction with some of the heavy equipment that was here, secured that last piece of concrete that had to be moved. And by about 6:30, right around 6:30 this morning, Mitchell was removed from the structure.
any lessons learned from Surfside that you
We-
worked with us?
We did have experts from the USAR team that are part of the Pinellas County Technical Rescue team out of St. Petersburg who were down at Surfside. So some of the techniques that were used down there and that structure collapse, we definitely leaned on their expertise throughout this operation.
And did the stairwell pancake just come right down?
That's what it looks like at this time. Again, it's all still under investigation, and that's going to be kind of part of the final report that comes out.
Do we know exactly what Mitchell was doing? What was the nature of the work he was performing when this happened?
The only thing we do know is that he was here doing some sort of stairwell repair, but I don't have all the details right now on that. For us, from the fire department standpoint, we were strictly focused on, early on rescue, and then when it became a recovery mission, to make sure that we fulfilled that mission as safely as possible.
Anything else?
Merry Christmas.
Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you. Rob, you need it?
He'll get you that piece of paper.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chiefs.